listen for the storm. Hear the difference in the wind. When dark clouds form and start to turn, I'll run again. Far away when the hurricane comes in. Far away when the hurricane, oh, that old hurricane comes.
Hello everyone, I'm FARMERSIM and welcome back to Delta South Grain and Harvest. I hope you're keeping well and having a wonderful day. So, yeah, welcome back to Delaplane. I'm going to crack on, and the first job in hand that I've got at the minute, and I'm going to try and do it all from cab. It's far from the easiest thing to do, let me tell you, but it's just gauging the distance, that's all it is, for the auger spout here. But can I do it? Because I really don't have much room. Oh, I think I've got it there, have I? No, I haven't. Come on. Have I got it? It looks like I have. Honestly, see what I mean? It's proper difficult to tell. It looks like I'm right there. I am. But it's not increasing. Do you know what? Let me just get back in cab. But I am going to have to jump out here. I'm bang on there. What are you doing? I mean, that is literally bang on. Let me just try and let's see. There you go. What's wrong with that? Honestly, that was a good aim. Surely you can agree with me there, ladies and gentlemen. I really did get it bang on there, and it just wouldn't unload. That's a damn shame. Anyway, right, let's pull this in. Yeah, I've got very little room on my on or in my yard to be able to fill up this massive cedar here. Planter, sorry. Right, we'll just leave that there for now, yeah. Yeah, very little room on my farm to be able to fill this thing. But it does still have this tendency to creep. Before hitting record on this episode, this tractor and planter was sat perfectly on the road here. And it just creeps. There you go, you can see it there. It drives me nuts. Now, initially, I thought that the reason for this was the more realistic game engine, because when this thing is parked on its own over in the shed, it used to have a tendency to creep quite badly, and if I came out and back into the game, I'd find this thing at a jaunty angle several feet away from where I'd left it, and it drove me insane. And I turned that more realistic game engine mod off, and once or twice it seemed to still be in the same place. But anyway, yeah, this thing is it's going on its own little journey over here, isn't it? So let's straighten this thing up. So anyway, yeah, sorry. Yeah, welcome back to Delaplane, folks. I hope you're keeping well. So I wanted to start this episode out initially with a bit of an apology, first and foremost, because regarding the title of the last episode. Now, the last episode initially was called Killing the Weeds with Fire. Now, there was no intention on my part whatsoever to come across as being insensitive or make light of the situations that were happening, well, with wildfires in general, wildfires, sorry, but especially the ones that were happening in the United Kingdom. At the time of this video's release, now I'd made the video like a week before. I'd had the opportunity to kind of get ahead of myself a bit, and you know, instead of making a video like the day or 2 days before I intended it to be released, I was able to release it. I'd made it like a week before, and I'd published it to YouTube a week before with the thumbnail and the title saying Killing the Weeds with Fire. Those of you who've watched the series from the very beginning know that I've said that line once or twice before with my relative excitement, I suppose you could call it, for getting to use the Kinning-Fag Big Burn. But of course, you know, I published it, I sent it to YouTube, did all that kind of stuff, made the thumbnail, and then cracked on with with the next video, as it were. And of course, obviously the awful news that we were having, especially in the United Kingdom at the time, due to the incredible hot and dry weather that we'd been having for weeks and weeks and weeks. You know, there was a lot of wildfires in the news, and it was awful. And the timing of the release of my video with that title just couldn't have been worse. So honestly, my heartfelt apologies to anyone. There wasn't any intention to be insensitive or make light of those situations whatsoever. It was just a case of awful timing on my part. So you know, as soon as I realized the correlation between my silly little video and what was actually happening in the real world, I immediately changed the title of the video and amended the thumbnail to suit. So yeah, apologies to anyone who thought that, because I mean, one of the reasons that made me think about it, apart from the fact that it was a few folks had talked about it on my Discord and said, oh yeah, you know, perfect timing for such a title, FARMERSIM, or something like that. It was like, oh my god, what have I done? Yeah, it was actually the fact that the video had 4 dislikes within the first couple of hours, and that never happens with me, thankfully. So yeah, what can I say? Hands up, you know, silly mistake on my part. So yeah, it's all sorted now though. Right, so anyway, moving on today, as you can see, we're in the 2nd of April. It's 3:15 in the afternoon. Now, in between episodes, I've done a little bit of work. I have planted 2 of our fields. I've planted some corn and I've planted some soybeans. And I've also worked with Soil Fertilizer and sorted out those 2 fields with exactly what they needed to have. So let's just firstly jump into the PDA and show you what I'm on about. So the really big cornfield down here, I wanted to kind of get that done. I wasn't too sure if it was going to work perfectly well because of the faff that I'd had with the long grain rice down here, even though that was an issue that was, I think, entirely confined to long grain rice and the way it works in the game. That was all sorted thanks to Yoss and his Allow Rice on Fields mod. But the corn, as you can see, it's all gone down relatively well. But there's these little patches dotted all over the field that I cannot plant. It doesn't appear different in the actual visually in the field. Everything looks as it should be, but there's all these tiny little patches. Now they're tiny little patches. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. It is what it is, but maybe it's just more of an OCD thing. And then because I saw it happening, I was like, well, what's going on here? I've never seen this happen before. It didn't happen over here with the long grain rice. It didn't happen here with the cotton but either of these fields. There was a couple of patches here, but again, I couldn't do anything about them, and they're so inconsequential that I just let it be. But these ones, it's peppered with them, isn't it? It's all over the place. You've got these big streaks here that are, I mean, again, in the big picture of things, with the size of the field, it's not really going to matter. But, you know, when you're trying to do a job properly, and especially when it's nice to sit back and do the job and look at the PDA and go, yeah, that's perfectly done. Especially when it comes to, like, finishing jobs off, you know, like when you do a rolling job and you miss tiny little bits. It's like, no, can't have that. So, you know, you spend the time and go over all the tiny little streaks that you miss just to make sure that the PDA looks nice and neat. Is anyone else with me there? I'm sure there's a lot of you who do that. It's not just me, I hope. So anyway, yeah, we got these patches going on, so I don't know what was going on there, but it also happened with the soybeans up here. I planted the big field of corn here, and I planted the big field of soybeans up here, and it's the same thing. Can't do anything about it. I've run the planter back and 2 over them, can't drill in these tiny little patches. I also, just for my own peace of mind and knowledge, I created a copy of the save game, just so that I could faff around with it and not spoil any of the setup of this one, through a base game planter into the field, and tried planting with another planter because I wasn't sure whether it was the field that there was a problem or whether it was the planter or whatever. But I tried it with a base game planter and it didn't work either. So I just held my hands up and just gave up. There's not much I can do with it. So it is what it is. So yeah, we've got these 2 fields done, and I have also dealt with Soil and Fertilizer. Now I did I spent quite a lot of time with Soil and Fertilizer. We've used quite a bit of the products that we've got stashed away in our fertilizer shed over here, but I ran the lime again down here in the long grain rice because it wasn't quite right. And as you can see, the thing, it's all stripy. Now this is apparently an issue. I'm not going to say an issue, but it's a known bug that the team over at the Realistic Farming modding team, I suppose, they are aware of, and apparently this is due to be fixed in in a forthcoming update. It's like the translation of what you're spraying on the field doesn't translate to the PDA, which is it's you know, it is what it is. It's an extremely complicated mod. So do you know what? It's all good in my eyes, but obviously when you're doing it like this and you're left with stripy patterns all over your fields, it does make you sit there and ask the question, but because I have been in contact with Wizardly Payload and I've told him about this, and he did tell me that they are aware of it and it is due to be fixed in a forthcoming update. So that's all good. But as you can see, yeah, there's still patches that it hasn't dealt with, I suppose. This whole field has been run perfectly with the sprayers, with lime and with, what did I use? Liquid urea to bring up the nitrogen and the MAP and DAP and liquid potash as well to bring up the nitrogen levels, which it's all good. But again, because of the weird application bug or glitch or whatever you want to call it, it does still say that there's patches that are shy and patches that are over. But I'm just going to take it that the job is done. You know, there's not much more I can do. You can spend hours trying to fix these bits, but no matter what I do, I can't apply it to these patches that are still red here. So in your green, obviously, was 66 parts per million over in that particular field of nitrogen, and then right next door to it the next door strip was 63 parts per million shy of what is needed. So it is what it is. I'm just going to hope that that sorts itself out, and the same can be said for the soybean field up here. So yeah, I've done what I can do with that. That's all I can do. Now, so on top of that, because we did quite a bit of work. Now look at this thing. I'm already creeping back over here again. Maybe it's because I'm on a slight hill, you know what I mean, like a slight incline. I don't know, not too sure. But I have actually since the last episode as well, I've added another couple of mods to this save game, and they're just quality of life ones, nice little touches. And one of them is, if you look up in the top right hand corner, it's called the coloured weather icons, and that's by a modder called Taker. Now this is just a nice little tiny little mod that just changes the color of the icons as your weather changes on the map that you're currently playing on, and I just really like that idea. So yeah, I've downloaded that, and also one that I've been yearning for a very, very long time, and again, this is more of an OCD thing, I suppose, but it's called vehicle tab sorting, and it's by a modder called Hell4B, again over on the mod hub. But it's absolutely brilliant. I've always liked having the vehicles that I have on my farm in an order, and we all have different ways of doing things. I appreciate that. I think by default the tab order that you have is the order in which you purchase them in, but I've always liked having them in the order of, like, essentially size. So I start off with a pickup truck or the farm truck or whatever you've got, and then you work your way up right to the big tractors, and then combine harvesters and cotton harvesters and whatever else you might have on your farm, forage harvesters and all that kind of stuff. But it's really, really good, and if you do download that mod, you access it from the pricing menu. So if you go to your pricing menu, this usual place here, you'll see you've got another tab along the top here called, quite simply, Tab Order. And then you got all the vehicles, plus all your implements as well. It literally lists everything that you own on your farm. And quite simply, you've got a tab order button here, so you can just press up or down and send whichever vehicle you're looking to work with up or down the order in which you can tab through, which is brilliant. Just love it. So it's just a nice little bit of organization for those of us who have a little bit of OCD and like everything organized and neat and tidy, whether that's in a digital list or laid out on your farm. This is just something that allows you to exercise that, I suppose, and keep things in an order that you're happy with. But yeah, it's really, really cool. So I've been able to change all my tractors. So I've got my truck and a couple of Pumas, my Magnum Steigers, Quad Track Patriots, Lexians, and obviously just going up in the order that I like to have them in. So yeah, really cool mod there by Hell4B. Highly recommend it if you like the idea of that kind of stuff. So yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to update you on. Oh yeah, the Magnum is in for a service. The Patriot also needs a service as well. I need to get that sorted as well. I have changed the base service hours from 5 to 10 on this particular save, just for the, 5 hours just seemed a little bit stingy in my opinion. So yeah. But anyway, right, we need to crack on. So now that we've got one field of corn planted and we've got one field of soybeans planted, I'm going to crack on now with this slightly smaller field of corn. Get this done. And because then in my idea with this series, once I've got this corn and those soybeans planted, the soybeans planted in the other field across the way there, down behind the, I'll jump into the PDA and show you what I'm on about, into these two fields here, field 152 and 121. It's easier if I come out of Soil and Fertilizer. There you go, these two here. We're going to get some soybeans in there, get the corn in here, and then that's pretty much it when it comes to what we need to do, plus what Soil and Fertilizer needs after that as well. That's going to be pretty much it for what we need to do, and then we can essentially move forward in time. Now, I'm considering taking on a couple of contracts if they appear to get a little bit more money in the bank, because the one thing we're not necessarily shy of, but I'd like a really big grass field. We do have a few grass fields on the farm at the minute, and they're not very big, and we are going to need some grass to be able to turn to silage, which in time will turn to electricity for our production systems, which we've not focused much on so far in this series, but we will get there eventually. But yeah, so that's the plan. So maybe it might be an idea to invest a little bit more money into another larger grass field. I think I did touch base on this in the last episode, but I wasn't too sure how to progress with it. But one thing I am considering doing, and let me know in the comments whether you think I should, is sell one of my tractors, one of the smallest one, the Magnum, the Puma 170, I think it is. I found it's had a little bit of a problem in respect of driving. It's had a gearing problem in that it just takes ages and it's like it gets stuck in gears, if that makes any sense. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, not too sure what's going on there, but considering selling it, might get it. It's got about $100,000 in it. Now, why isn't doesn't seem to be planting here. Just realised or is it? Oh yeah, it is. Oh, that's fine. It's the capacity of the seed wasn't going down. Oh, and another mod that I've got running. Yeah, if you have a look at the capacities that I've got displayed there, I have got the Imperial Units mod running now on this save. Obviously, being in the United States, it just made sense. We've had the British Fill Units come out by Big Mac J, and we've now got the Imperial Units mod as well. Now, forgive me, I haven't jotted this one down, so forgive me, I haven't got the modder's name to hand here. But it's just a cracking little addition to the realism side of running any farm on a United States map. Just makes perfect sense of measurements now. I've got things in pounds and US tons and bushels. Now, it does say, is this correct or not? I don't know, but obviously the capacity that I've got of just seeds at the minute is measured in bushels. I'm not too, is that right? To me, it seems right that the capacity of seeds, while they're still in seed form, would be in pounds or kilograms or tons or something like that, not in bushels. I thought bushels was primarily just for grain once you've harvested. Am I off with that? Please let me know again in the comments. But either way, it's still cool to have. I'm not complaining. It's all good. Anyway, right, so I'm going to shut up for a bit and get cracking on with this. I think we'll throw this job into a bit of a time lapse, get it done. I'm sure and I'm hoping that I've got enough seed in what I've got here to cover this field and that soybean field as well. But we'll get this cornfield done and see where we're up to after that. So I'll see you soon. Okay, then here we go. Almost done. Now, strangely enough for me, I've done this. That was one take. I don't normally do that, do I? I do normally throw things into cinematics and employ the work of courseplay and get automation doing its thing. But it's very rarely I do things by hand, as it were. So there was no steering assist there, no automation, no courseplay, no none of that. So I'm going to be very intrigued to see how much I've missed. That's the what we'll have a look at in a second. But yeah, I've got a funny feeling there might be a couple of patches on the corners there. But this is, and it's quite difficult to see when you consider the textures of this map and what we're normally used to. There we are. Let's get that lifted up. How are you down? But yeah, it's very difficult to see where you've been. I've just been relying on the lines, I suppose, left by the planters and the wheels. But oh, you see, there we go again. The field's got chicken pox. I was kind of expecting it, but I've not missed any, have I? Not done too bad there. There's a couple of bits in the corners there. Yeah, that's fair enough, because manoeuvring this thing is a bit of a pain in the neck, let's be honest. It really is. It's not the easiest thing to shift about. So anyway, let's change those seeds to soybeans. I think we can call that done. But in fact, while we're waiting for that to fold up, let's now that we've got the crop into the ground, we can get a better idea of the what it needs from soil and fertilizer. So nitrogen, 39 parts per million needed there. Okay, and a couple of gaps there, but these two patches here they weren't part of the original field. Of course, I did my usual joining a few bits together to make it slightly larger. So yeah, we're going to need to run a bit of spraying with a bit of nitrogen. Phosphorus, oh okay, it's not too bad. Again, a couple of patches, even that says it's 4 parts per million high. Okay, or maybe I can 3 parts per million in a couple of these red patches. Maybe I can get away with not spraying phosphorus on the field. The potash, again, looks relatively okay. These red patches, it's weird how some of the fields have got this crazy grid pattern going on and some of them haven't, isn't it? It's but anyway, there we go. And the pH levels. You know what? I'm just going to call that done. Yeah, we need to spray some nitrogen in this one. Definitely do. Yeah, definitely need a bit of nitrogen in this field, but I think for the other ones we might be alright, so that'll be good. It'll save a bit of time, and of course on top of that a bit of money. But right, so we need to go and sort the soybeans out now, so let's get round to that field and get them drilled. Now what I was saying before, just about the fact that once these fields are drilled, that's pretty much it for the work that needs to be done on our farm. And it's just a nice refreshing change from a typical save, I suppose you can call it that, where you've also got animals to think about. I've seldom done a save like this where I'm not had to focus on any animals. So yeah, it's just a bit of a refreshing change to not have to wake up every morning and have to go and muck around and sort the cows out or sort the sheep out or goats or whatever it is you might have on your farm. It's just a nice change, really. That's the best way to put it. But because of that, because we haven't got the responsibility of animals to deal with, it does make the concept of moving forward in time just that little bit easier. So once we do get all of our fields dealt with, I will obviously keep checking the contracts, but it means I've just got the option to progress through the save a little bit faster, because I know I'm a bit guilty of my saves taking, do you know what I mean, a long time. Do you know, I don't rush things. I do sometimes tend to have a good few days per month. But when it comes to progression, compared to other YouTubers anyway, compared to other series that I've seen now and again, the progression on mine just always seems to be that little bit too slow, in my personal opinion. So it'd be nice to, you know, be able to get all the crops in the ground and then just zip through time and pick you up when it's time to get cracking on with the harvest. The sooner we do that, the sooner we get some money into the bank, the sooner we can start to, you know, move things forward a bit and get a few options under our belt. Do you know what I mean? But yeah. So, but of course, before that, we need to get the beans into the ground here, and then we need to sort it out with soil and fertilizer and go from there. So, I think, yeah, that's the idea. So I think what I'll do, I'll get this soybean planting done off camera. Once you've seen me planting, you've seen it all. Once you've seen it once, you've seen it more than enough, haven't you? You don't need to see it again. So, here we are. Now, as you can see, I did throw a bit of lime into this patch here previously in between the episodes, just to top up this little bit here. The rest of it was all right. So, anyway, but until we've got the beans into the ground, we won't know what else it needs. So, like I say, I'll sort this out and I'll pick you up in a wee while's time when it's done. There we go, folks. Beans are in the ground. Job done. Now, like as I mentioned before, I don't usually do stuff like that off camera, but I kind of figured once you've seen someone drill a field, you've seen them drill a field, haven't you? So, yeah, I just got that one done relatively quickly off camera. But as you can see from the bottom right-hand corner, this quaddy now does need a service. Now, I did mention before that I'd increased the service interval on what I thought all the vehicles from 5 hours to 10. That was a bit of a jump, wasn't it? But for some reason, it didn't save, so I'm going to, instead of just amending it, I'll take the hit this time, and we'll pop this thing into the workshop and give it a service. It'll probably be finished sometime tomorrow, won't it? Because the service workshop doesn't work through the night, I suppose, with simulation being key. I suppose with that, you've got to give the technicians the chance to go home and have some dinner, you know what I mean? So, yeah, they do close. I think they open at 8 AM and close at 7 PM or something like that. But both this and the Patriot over there do need a service. But I'm just going to do this one for now, because I'm going to jump into the Patriot in a second or two. And we're going to go and sort out the two fields that we've just drilled with a little bit of soil food, as it were. I'm a bit apprehensive as to how much this is going to cost, though. I've never serviced a quad track with an advanced damage system yet. Let's see. So, right, let's go to here. Quad track repair. Where are we? Bum, bum. Oof! $8,600. Well, it needs doing, doesn't it? Tomorrow at 11:40. Okay, yeah, right. We'll just keep it standard. OEM parts. Repair any faults found. Yeah. Right, click on start. Jesus. It's an expensive thing, keeping this machinery, isn't it? But it's got to be done. So, yeah, like I said, we're going to jump in this thing. In fact, before we do, because I know I need to top this thing up with a bit of diesel, but just to make sure it's in reasonable health before we go and stick it out in the fit. Oh, there you go. You see, radiator and air intake duct critically clogged. So, I'm assuming, even though you can't really see much of a mesh or anything at the front here, it's always the way, in it. Just give it a good blowing out at the front, wait for all that dust to dissipate. Where's the air intake on one of these things as well? Although I do think within the mechanics of the mod, it still works, just pointing the air blower at the machine. Right, let's try that again and see if that's fixed the problem. There we go. Yes, there we go. Excellent stuff. Right, awesome. Now, there was a couple of things I did want to talk about. Firstly, like I said before, at the beginning of the video, I did a little bit of work between episodes drilling the soybeans and the corn in a couple of the fields. Now, I want some liquid DAP. Yeah, there we go. That'll do. Yeah, we'll fill this up. So yeah, one of the jobs I did do in one of those two fields was some rolling. We did roll the beans. Now, crop-dependent rolling this is a mod I've been using for quite a while. It's by a mod called Sandman, and it's just brilliant. And at some point in the recent past, it has received a sizable update. And what that update did, now it's in the first iteration of the mod, essentially there was just a default handful of crops that you no longer had to roll, and off the top of my head, cotton was one of them, corn was one of them, and there was 2 or 3 others. But now what you actually can do, and I'm just going to get this thing filled up and then I can pop into the menus because it will take a second or two. So if I go into our menu, crop dependent rolling now has its own little menu here on the left hand side, and you can individually specify whether you want to roll any of the particular crops that are on the map, and it does support custom crops as well that any map does come with, which is brilliant. But in the case of corn, now like I said, I did roll the beans, but with corn, like I said, in the first version of the mod, you didn't have to roll corn period. It was just, you just didn't do it. And you can do this with each of the individual crops. Now, rolling is very dependent on the quite a few different particulars in some cases, like soil moisture, soil quality, all that kind of stuff. Now, in the last episode, those of you who did watch it will know that we had several hours of particularly heavy rain. So in my mind, I was able to take advantage of that knowledge and what happened in the game, and tell myself that I'm not going to roll corn. Now, to put it very simply, and obviously this is a learning thing for me, not being a farmer, you know, I've been playing Farming Simulator for several years now, and every day is a school day sometimes, you know what I mean? Learning new tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff, and techniques. With corn, if the soil had been completely dry and dusty, you would roll it to lock in any moisture that the seeds would be able to take advantage of. In our case, we had several hours of very, very heavy rain earlier on in the save game, as it were. So I was able to take that and say to myself, right, I'm not going to roll the corn, because in the case where you've got damp or wet soil, you wouldn't necessarily run a heavy roller over that field once you've drilled it, because that would create a soil cap or a crust, and then the seeds that are underneath the ground there would struggle to break through that crust, and that would obviously detrimentally affect your crop as it's growing and the germination of it. So for that particular moment, once I drilled the corn, I turned off the necessity to roll the corn. So it gave me one less job to have to do. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out because I thought that was a really cool thing, the ability to be able to do that with crop dependent rolling. Now, forgive me, I can't remember exactly when this update to the mod came out. It hasn't been in the last few days. It was a good few weeks ago, I think. But it's just a really, really cool addition and change to the mod that I think adds a really cool bit of realism and simulation to our game. So yeah, highly recommend Crop Dependent Rolling by Sandman. Go grab it. Now, going back to Soil and Fertilizer, let's jump into the menus and have a look. Now, I always feel I need to apologise for constantly babbling on about Soil and Fertilizer, but because it is such an overarching mod, it's got so much detail and there's so much that needs to be focused into it, it always tends to come up in a video and I end up spending a couple of minutes talking about it. But now that we've got the beans in the ground here, again, you can see the peppered state of my fields have chicken pox kind of thing. I can't do anything about that. It is what it is. But if I know, so we're going to be focusing on just this field here, 152 and 121, because there are discrepancies with Soil and Fertilizer at the minute, and I can only hope that, you know, in the next iteration of the mod that maybe they will be addressed. But if we go to our soil layers now, if I was just going to, it's the discrepancy between what we see in the PDA, or what I'm seeing in the PDA, and what we see from the treatment plan. And again, I'm going to focus just on 152 and possibly 121. But if I go to my treatment plan and I go have a look at what field 152, double click that, everything is okay, apart from it says apply lime or liquid lime to raise the pH levels. But going back to the PDA, and we go to pH levels, field 152 is optimal. 6.7 is absolutely perfect. So why is the treatment plan telling me I need to apply lime to 152 when it's actually fine? To be fair, it's 121 that needs a little bit of it, but I've already done this and I'm not going to do it again. It is what it is. It's not that bad, so we can leave that be. Regarding nitrogen, it's okay. Field 152 is okay. Field 121 down here is generally okay. Now, previously, before we had Soil and Fertilizer, soybeans didn't really need much nitrogen, and in the real world they kind of do and they don't. But what I'm going to do with this field, I'm going to leave the nitrogen levels of this field, because the majority of the field does contain nitrogen, and it looks like enough for soybeans. I don't think. I think what I would experience in here is I wouldn't necessarily be able to do this. It would kind of appear like this, where these red patches I wouldn't be able to update anyway. So I'm just going to leave that one be when it comes to nitrogen, but we are going to sort out the phosphorus and the potassium. But again, the field treatment plan told us that 152 was okay for everything apart from lime, whereas field 152 here, the information I'm getting from the PDA says we need to give this a top up of DAP to top up the phosphorus levels, and we also need to top up with some liquid potash. But the treatment plan says otherwise. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, do I go off what the treatment plan is telling me, or do I go off what the soil PDA, the map PDA is telling me? And what I've decided, I'm going to go off what the PDA is telling me. So that's that, essentially. I tried to be as quick as I could with that one, but yeah, like I say, we're going to top up the phosphorus and the potassium. It's 10 to 5 in the evening, so I think we'll have enough time to get this done. The weather's good at the minute till the early hours of the morning when we get some rain. So I'm thinking it would be a good idea to get all this work done now while it's nice and dry before the rain comes, and then all of our fields will be boxed off, and then I suppose during the night we'll get a bit of rain, which will always be good for the crops. So yeah, there we go. And I did really quite enjoy myself before when I was doing things manually myself, so I think I'm going to do it again. Like I said, yeah, I really quite enjoyed myself. It was a nice change. So let's get you unfolded. Come bring you to a stop. What we will do, we'll bring up that. We'll turn on the automatic application rate, and that should allow us to spray exactly what we needed. Nitrogen levels. Yeah, you see this one's a little bit shy. Where are we with nitrogen levels in this one? Nitrogen. You see, it's... Oh, there are patches that's needed, isn't there? We'll see. I may well have a go with that one as well. I'm not too sure. But anyway, yeah. So, let's get this thing turned on. And like I said... Oh, that was a good guesstimate, wasn't it? Look at that. Right. Let's get spraying. Right, so folks, there we go. The soil and the soybeans have been fed, and now we're back out in the field with the roller. Now, touching on what I mentioned before about the rolling and the corn and all that kind of stuff, I didn't actually focus too much on the soybeans. I was more focused on the corn when I was reading up, just to try and learn a little bit more about the realistic jobs that you would do, whether you would do rolling or not in particular conditions. Now, with soybeans as well, you wouldn't necessarily do it after a heavy rainfall either, because of that soil capping or soil crusting, but I hadn't actually toggled soybeans off in this case, so the game was telling me I needed to roll at the PDA was, so here we are, just cracking on and getting it done. So yeah, but I will try my very best to focus and remember all these little details moving into the future. So yeah, after a heavy rain, I'm not too sure if you roll any crops for that particular reason, for the soil capping. So yeah, it's good information to learn though, isn't it? And like I said before, for me, obviously there's so much to learn about farming. There really is. It's an incredible thing to learn and know more about. And there's, like I said, as someone who doesn't come from a farming background, you know, it's just a constant. As far as I'm concerned, there's always so much to know and learn, so it's brilliant. But yeah, so anyway, the fields will be, when this is done, all boxed off. So that's all good. And once this is done, then we're going to be able to move into the 3rd of April. There are a couple of contracts that I might take on. Where are you going here? Worried you're going to go and get stuck on a tree or something. That is one of the things that I've noticed about a few of my fields. They've got quite a few trees quite close to the field, so it does make it a bit awkward sometimes working with these large, wide bits of equipment. But hey ho, just don't knock into a tree and get stuck, please. But yeah, there are a couple of contracts that I might consider taking on where we can make use of our big Seedhawk seeder. Let's just jump into the menus. But yeah, there we go. Obviously, potassium and phosphorus all topped up. So that's all good. Now, I've forgotten to do the cornfield there. I'll do that one after as well. Oops, I was concentrating on the soybeans. But yeah, I'll sort that one out shortly. But yeah, there we go. So there's a big, almost $19,000 sorghum planting contract in field 97, so I might consider taking that on in the 3rd day of April, just to get a bit more money in the bank. Why not? I still do need to consider whether to sell that that case, the smaller of the case tractors. Do let me know in the comments if you think I should or not. Whether I mean, I'm not shy of a tractor or two, am I, on the farm, ladies and gentlemen? Let's be honest. I suppose having all these tractors, like I said at the beginning of this series, it's a bit of fun. I suppose it is quite indulgent as well to have quite so many, but both of those Pumas could do the same job, and because that one does have a little bit of an issue now and again when it comes to the gearbox. I've experienced it with a few tractors before, and I know I've seen a lot of other folks comment on similar issues where the tractor doesn't necessarily drive. You put your foot down, or in my case my finger, and it doesn't accelerate as you'd expect it to do. It just sits and gets stuck in a gear at like 3 or 4 or 5 miles an hour. So that's the only tractor I've experienced that problem with. So yeah, and like I said, there's about 110 grand tied up in it, I think. In fact, let's just remind myself, where are we? In our garage, medium tractors. Yeah, it's the 170. Yeah, $110,946. So if I so what would that would take me to 320 grand. So I'd be able to consider expanding the farm with a bit of land if I did do that. But anyway, let me know. What do you think in the comments? So anyway, yeah, for this episode, I'm going to crack on here. I'll finish off the rolling here, and I'll sort out the spraying in the cornfield that I forgot about a minute ago. But for now, for today's episode, folks, I am going to call it here. Thank you very much for watching. I really do hope you have enjoyed the video and found it a little bit of fun and a little bit interesting. As always, if you're new to the channel and you like my content, you like the way I'm doing things, please consider hitting that subscribe button and jumping on board, joining the channel. Please hit that like button too, as it does do wonders. Helps the YouTube algorithm do its thing. And if you like the idea of supporting the channel, there's a couple of ways you can do that. There is my Giants Partner promo code, if any of you are in the market for purchasing FARMERSIM 25 or any of its add-ons or DLCs. There's coffee.com if you'd like to buy me a coffee. And there's also my G-Portal affiliate link if any of you are in the market for an online server to play with your mates. Any help and support there, as always, ladies and gentlemen, is massively appreciated. So, thanks again for your time, folks. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.